Coming up next, we talked about Lightning in a Bottle, those hits where artist or a band releases a song that rips up the charts and then they disappear. I love the one album wonders, and this is another one of those episodes. This is a Canadian band who was nominated for a Grammy. They had 3 big hits from one song. They pretty much rocked the charts from 86 to 87. And the 2 members from this 80s hit band, they're going to tell us the story of a moment where they were all the rage in mainstream music. In a new episode of Bottle Lightning, you're going to like this. It's coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you used to write down the top 40 countdown, Casey Kasem in your Trapper Keeper, as Casey was counting them down, and you memorize those, you're going to love this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now. Click the bell so that you get the story straight from the legends. Okay, it's time for another edition of our series, one of my favorite shows we do on here, Bottle Lightning. This is where we break down the history of a beloved one-hit extravaganza that took over our culture for a time. This time, we're going to delve into an album that had multiple hits, and then they just disappeared. Let's jump into the time machine. We're going to set the circuits for the year 1986, where a Canadian band with a Scottish singer released an album that mixed pop, rock, and new wave synth, encased in several catchy singles that took him to the top of the charts, got him nominated for a Grammy for Best New Artist. I'm talking about Glass Tiger. Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone is partly inspired by Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, and Tears for Fears. It would go all the way to number 2 with its catchy sing-along chorus. Then there was the emotional heartbreaker Someday. That would go to number 7 in early 87. Followed by a third top 40 hit, the anthem, I Will Be There. The band was riding high in 86 and 87. Now, the album that these songs came from, The Thin Red Line, that was selling as well. It went gold here in the US. It went 4 times platinum in their native country, Canada. And they had fellow Canadian Bryan Adams backing them on Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. Of course, due to his longtime musical partner, Jim Vallance, who co-wrote both the hits and produced on this iconic 80s record. They also killed it at the Canadian Juno Awards, winning 5 over a 2-year period, including Best Album and Best Single. Everything was breaking right for this band. They got their second album out in 88. That was called Diamond Sun. Their first single, I'm Still Searching, it was promising, but it stalled at number 31, and they never had another hit in the US after that. Up next, Scotland-born singer-songwriter Alan Frew and keyboardist-songwriter Sam Reid tell the stories behind their big 3 hits from this album and how they conquered the charts in 86 and 87. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. You know, since Zenni has been our sponsor, I've received so many positive comments from our viewers who have loved their glasses, their frames, especially the features like anti-fog, anti-glare, and blue blocks. These guys are the real deal. Go to Zenni.com right now and design your own. I think the whole Thin Red Line, such a great album. Every song takes me back, because that was back in the time when you would buy a cassette, and these things actually cost money. You couldn't just stream it, go on Spotify and have millions upon millions of songs. But I remember buying that cassette, and you listen to it over and over again because you want to get your money's worth, and that's all you had. You only had 10 or 15 tapes, really, as a kid. Some kids only had a couple, and so you really listened to it. So I remember every song, side A, side B, and all that. Let me ask you really quick about I Will Be There, which went to number 31. Tell me the story about what you remember about that one, because I thought it was a great song.
I think Hanson's involved in that one, isn't he, Sam?
Yeah, I believe so. And yes, definitely.
I think it was a Conley-Hanson kind of a musical collaboration, the two of them partnering. Hanson is and was a decent guitar player. So I think the two of them might have got the ball rolling. I don't know.
It came at you from a riffy guitar perspective. I do remember that the riff was first. And then you responded to that because it was very much guitar driven.
Yeah. My memories of writing with those guys, sometimes it's just a cassette being handed to me with stuff on it. Whereas Sam and I always tended to gravitate to being in the same room together all the time. But working with Conley or Hansen, it would be maybe you're in a hotel room or you go home with a cassette from rehearsal. Sam, I don't know whether you remember where we actually all just sit around a room, and I will be there or not, but I don't have a whole lot of memory on how it was pieced together. But I just know that it made me think of it's got an outdoors, worldly kind of a feel about it. And so it put me in a place where I'm talking about being under the big sky, calling from the mountains. And, again, the rest is history on that song. It just has a little bit more of a rock feel to it, more anthemic.
Well, I remember rooting for you guys so much when you were up for the Grammy Award for Best New Artist.
we were too, and one of the reasons I really wanted to win that, other than the fact that anybody would love to win a Grammy, but the Beatles won that one. The Beatles were the best new band.
As you can see, folks, the box is now empty.
Sadly, we were kind of forewarned that it wasn't going to happen, that there was a real Americana thing about the Grammys, and the chances of a Canadian band landing that particular Grammy was next to zero.
To be on that short list, and I mean, Alan and I think we share a couple of same memories where we just happened to take like a washroom break, and you're standing there, and you're, Doc Severinsen from The Tonight Show, and then you're,
Roger Daltrey,
and you're standing there like you're just hanging out at a restaurant, and it's like, and I remember because they seat you in an area where if you do win, they have to pick you up on camera. So my head was sore from just turning and looking at who we were. I mean, I'm sitting beside Paul Simon. And during the stretch, you're getting up in the stretch. Hey, Paul, how you doing? It's like that happens every day. And then you go, where am I right now? It's just unbelievable.
Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. Let's talk about that 80s classic. Like I told you, that was a song that in America, growing up, I was rooting for that song when I'd listen to the top 40 countdown every week, and it got to number 2, of course, and did well on a few different charts. But lead single from the Thin Red Line, and co-written by both of you guys along with Jim. Jim, of course, his songwriting partner for Bryan Adams early on there, helped write some of his biggest hits, Cuts Like a Knife.
Now cuts like a knife.
Summer of 69. And he also wrote with a lot of different bands and artists. Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone is what I call those parentheses songs, right? Those songs that have the title and then the parentheses. There's actually a pretty cool little trivia about how many songs have done that. But the first day that you met Valance, that he picked you up from the airport, he asked you guys what you were listening to.
Yeah, he picked us up at the airport. There was Sam and Al and myself, and we were in the car. And you're trying to break the ice, chit-chatting, and one of the questions Jim asked was, who are you listening to? And we told him Tears for Fears, U2, stuff like that. And we weren't quite sure, what this was all about, but it's just the Valance way. There's a reason why you're listening to what you're listening to, why you're influenced by it. And hey, you might be able to cop a feel of something that's going on.
I love that.
And we hadn't really worked like that. He makes some tea, and we're sitting around and we're playing these albums, and on comes Tears for Fears, and of course the big song at the time was Shout, Shout, Let It All Out. These are the things I can do without. Shout, let it all out. We didn't really pay that much attention to anything outside of that until all of a sudden on came Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And you had that, and Valance goes, oh, shuffle beat. And immediately runs to the studio and fires up a shuffle beat. And the rest is history. We start getting that whole down da da down down da down da down down. Which immediately made me sing the melody to the verse, but I actually came up with a line right away. Don't forget me when I'm gone. Take my breath away. Came out immediately, but it came out as the opening line of the verse. Don't forget me when I'm gone. And again, this is where Valance, was just right on the ball. And he said, ooh, what a great line that is. Let's scoop that and put it over here for later. And so I was dabbling with you take my breath out and that kind of thing. And then when we latched on to da 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 da, that's when Valance said, let's bring that back. And we brought back the line, don't forget me when I'm gone, put it in its place as the chorus. Don't forget me when I'm gone.
Bryan Adams comes in and just wails, but what I love about it is he has that call and response kind of answer thing, but then you have the final line, and I love how your voice came in with that final line.
Again, Sam was behind the console with Jim. My memory is that Bryan and Jim were a couple. It becomes like a married couple. I mean, Sam and I we can finish each other's sentences. We know what each other's thinking. And so Jim and Bryan were like that in those days. And Bryan used to call the studio to check up on his partner, because from Bryan's perspective, it might have seemed like a little bit of the jilted lover, he's with someone else. And so he used to call and check in. We'd never met him. And he was coming into Toronto for the Juno Awards. And so he said he would swing by the studio. So he came. And Sam and Jim had a very close relationship as sort of producers and engineers and whatnot. Bryan and I were just a couple of punters, drinking Heinekens, a couple of singers talking. So was it contrived? Had Valance thought about it ahead of time? No one will ever really know. But he spontaneously said to two guys who had a couple of Heinekens in them, hey, why don't the two of you go on the microphone? And we'll see what comes out. And Bryan and I just looked at each other and went, okay, why not? And that was it from my perspective.
Bryan's part was definitely like icing on the cake. It just became a really cool little thing to add, and the opportunity with Bryan being in Toronto for the Junos.
Let's talk about one of the 80s most heartfelt ballads, Someday, and like you guys have said, written on the same day. Song went to number 14 in Canada, number 7 here on the Billboard Hot 100. I remember that to hear a song that was equally as great after Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone.
Don't forget me when I'm gone.
This is another song that was kicked off by just that heart-wrenching bass, the dung, da, da, dung, da, da. Just a great an emotional vocal even before you sing a word. Alan, how you just do that falsetto. You co-wrote the song with Jim and bandmate Al Connolly. So tell me about the process of writing that song, what you guys remember.
It was really simple. Sam and Al Connolly were smokers at the time. And here we are with this guy, Valance. We're in his basement studio. We've just written what's going to become this massive Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. And the boys wanted a short break. And Valance, being the avid non-smoker that he is, he wouldn't even allow the guys to stand outside the window of the basement that we were in. They had to go for a walk down the pathway. So Sam and Al, took off to go for a break, and they went for a walk, and they left me alone with Valance, and Valance was just farting around on his keyboard, and he started that chugga 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 chugga, and again, the tape was running. Sam has copies of this as well. And so he started that, and I immediately started singing, when I come home, you telephone, when I come home. Just kept repeating that.
When I come home, telephone.
And again, Valance says, I like that. That's cool. And we got it a certain length when the lads came back in, and Sam, you would maybe remember why is it Connolly? Like, what did Connolly do to join in? He probably got on his guitar. Sam at the time was probably Valance on the keyboard, maybe.
It was, and don't forget the bass in that is primarily a keyboard bass.
Right.
It was Valance chugging on the bass. Al came in with the guitar line, and then also the bridge, which was really cool.
I love the vocal, Alan, at the end. My favorite is when that final verse when you say, in the streets where lovers meet, I'm still waiting for you.
In the streets where lovers meet.
And then you just bring it home at the end there with that incredible chorus, and you're just really shredding it there. I love that.
Someday.
I always wanted to tell you that that's one of my favorite parts you've ever sung.
Oh, thank you, man.
What are you most grateful for in this moment? I mean, we're in a really strange time right now, and I just think gratitude's always important. What are you most grateful for?
Well, I mean, the first thing that shoots into my mind, I'll go first and then I'll leave you with Sam. I'm grateful for my family. That's number one. I'm grateful that I'm hunkered down here with my family, and that if you had to share this time with anyone in such close quarters as we all are right now, I'm grateful for my family. That aside, I'm grateful for my second family. I mean, the guy that you've got on here with me is my brother, and we've been through so much together. And my bandmates, Sam, Al, Wayne, all that we've been through. So when this happens like this, you're grateful for that. I've been through some major health issues in the last few years, and without someone like Sam, you wonder how you would have gotten through it. So we're a musical family, really deep musical family. So I'm grateful for that. And then the byproduct of that is why you're on here with us today. The legacy that we've been fortunate enough to leave in the homes of people all around the world. So the very fact that we can still do these kind of things, talk to someone like you, and then someone comes on a website. I have this little show I do every day, and people come on. This music has touched people around the world, and we are so lucky and fortunate to have that, because I'm really feeling right now for musicians. Our industry is completely shut down, and these young musicians that are trying to survive in this environment, it's a very, very difficult time. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and I don't take that lightly.
Really fascinating stuff. Even though Glass Tiger didn't dominate the American charts again, 2 of those 3 singles are still in heavy rotation, the classic pop stations, and they continued to tour and actually had quite a few hits after their peak in 86 and 87 in their native Canada. Their first 3 albums were all certified platinum, with their debut going 4 times platinum, and their second went 3 times platinum there. They had 6 more top 10 hits, including the number 2 hit, I'm Still Searching, and the number 4 hit, Animal Heart. Okay, so here's my feeling about it. I think that timing had a lot to do with this band's run ending more rapidly. By 1988, you had hard rock and metal taking over. Appetite for Destruction. The pop rock synth stuff started to get less airplay. Had Glass Tiger released these songs in 83, just a few years earlier, I think that they might have had a good 3 or 4 album run of hits. By the end of the 80s, things had changed too much. The 90s made it even tougher. So why do you think Glass Tiger never hit the top of the charts again with subsequent releases? Let me know in the comments. Love to have a discussion about it. I think it's pretty interesting to hear different theories about that. Share your thoughts on Glass Tiger's big hits, Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone, and Someday. What are your memories of these 80s radio hits? Man, they just take me back to the school bus and that crush I had that was always in the back seats there. Make sure to subscribe below right now and click the bell. Story straight from the artists about the greatest songs. You can also become an honorary producer on our Patreon by clicking on the link in the description. We have some awesome content going up there just for patrons. See our new merch as well. Make sure to help us keep the music alive. That's the idea. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Talk to you soon.